say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy. You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night. Couch potatoes unite. Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite. Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name, because if orange is the new black, podcasts are the new blogs, or a form of garage bands. Take your pick. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, via Google Play, and now on Spotify to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including but not limited to Fuller House, Westworld, The Good Place, Grace and Frankie, Arrested Development, Jane the Virgin, Schitt's Creek, Doctor Who, Supernatural, and the Arrowverse on the CW. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Gotham, Stranger Things, iZombie, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 13 Reasons Why, The Crown, American Horror Story, and the Marvel's Defenders panel will talk Season 2 of The Punisher. We'll be launching new panels covering Riverdale, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Altered Carbon, Mr. Robot, Charmed, Outlander, The Breaking Bad Universe, and This Is Us. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll take a smallish look back at a short-term show from some kind of yesteryear, namely Freaks and Geeks. We'll don witch hats and bring our Salem cats for Sabrina the Teenage Witch. We'll pull out some musical stops for our crazy ex-girlfriend. We'll revisit one of the all-time and most-watched classic sitcoms, MASH, and we'll consider the moral implications and quick cancellation of Dollhouse. Plus, our Star Trek 50-plus series will review The Next Generation Season 1. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers and comedy shows and Comic-Cons, and we just went live from Blue Bridge Games to take a shiny look back at Firefly. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, so make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play as well as on Spotify. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. We'll listen to it better than Piper does, that's for sure. Today we're around the water cooler for the final time to discuss the final season, that is Season 7, of Orange is the New Black, which was released to the Netflix streaming library on July 26, 2019, with a total of 13 episodes, which means, for the record, that this show is available to Netflix subscribers exclusively, as it is Netflix-produced original content. Today we'll also be looking back at the series as a whole. We were originally going to do a two-part goodbye series, but then I realized that our full Orange is the New Black coverage really covered all of the seasons, except Season 1 in podcast form, and in our Season 2 episode we talked a lot about Season 1. So we're just going to say an extra long goodbye today. To remind the listener, Orange is the New Black, or OITNB, is an American comedy drama web television series created by Jenji Kohan for Netflix. The series is based on Piper Kerman's memoir, Orange is the New Black, My Year in a Women's Prison, about her experiences at FCI Danbury, a minimum security federal prison, and is produced by Tilted Productions in association with Lionsgate Television. The series initially focuses upon Piper Chapman, played by Taylor Schilling, who was sentenced to 15 months in Litchfield Penitentiary, a minimum security women's federal prison in upstate New York. Chapman was convicted of transporting a suitcase full of drug money for her girlfriend Alex Voss, played by Laura Prepon, an international drug smuggler. In prison, Chapman is reunited with Voss, who named Chapman in her trial, resulting in Chapman's arrest, and they re-examine their relationship. Simultaneously, Chapman, along with the other inmates, attempt to grapple with prison's numerous inherent struggles. Episodes often feature flashbacks or significant events from various inmates and prison guards' pasts. These flashbacks typically depict how an inmate came to be in prison or develop a character's backstory. The 7th season attempts to provide an ending to the various inmate stories. Chapman and Vaz continue their on and off again relationship. The season shows how some prisoners are able to move beyond their time in prison, while others are captured by the system and or through their own flaws are unable to progress. In addition to the established setting of Litchfield Max, a significant portion of the season takes place in a newly created ICE detention center for detained presumed illegal immigrants, showing their struggles and lack of access to outside help. Throughout the series, it is shown how various forms of corruption, funding cuts, privatization of prison, overcrowding, guard brutality, and racial discrimination, among other issues, affect the prisoner's safety, health, and well-being, the correctional officers, and the prison's basic ability to fulfill its fundamental responsibilities and ethical obligations as a corrections institution. Our slightly reduced panel of arguably addicted inmates, namely Kristen, Nick, Krista, and Amanda, one panelist departed the panel for life's greater journeys, has reconvened around the water cooler one last time to talk the last season of Orange is the New Black. Before we do, as always, I'm going to take a moment to double check their temperature, because that's what we do, and after all, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better or the worse in our heads, or can continue its level of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have watched all episodes of all available seasons of Orange is the New Black and may discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who have not watched any of Orange is the New Black and plan to do so at some point, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Good.
Hey, well, thank you.
Are you ready to conclude our panel thusly with this season 7 talk?
Yes.
So before we do that, of course, what I'm going to do is take your temperature along the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. I changed it quite a bit this time because why the heck not? It's the final time. Aw, sad. And then we also have a little exercise when we go to the looking back portion, but we'll get there. That's foreshadowing. For now, what I'd like you to do is answer how you felt about OITNB after the 7th and final season. Are you ready, panel?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. After season 7, would you consider yourself addicted, but accept that everything must come to an end, like Nikki Nichols? Did you love it despite all of its obvious flaws? You finally recognize that you might also have flaws, or that you may not be able to bear your sins watching the show, and while you may not be a perfect half of an imperfect couple, you will always love the show and the characters, for better or for worse, like Piper Chapman or Alex Voss. Did you forget why you started watching this show, or what you liked about it in the beginning, but you thought the ending was probably the best it was ever going to be, like Alina or Red Reznikov? Did you keep watching because you hoped the show would recognize the need for the system to be changed, even if the change had to come from the inside, which might have been the most important change in the end, like Tasha or Tasty Jefferson? Did you watch it because your friends watched it, and friends make the insufferable tolerable, or the not easy to understand more understandable, like Suzanne, aka Crazy Eyes Warren? Did you watch it because you feel that it sheds light on important social issues, like the plight of immigrants in this country, and because it's the right thing to do, like Marisol or Flaca Gonzalez or Gloria Mendoza? Did you watch it to sort out your demons and penchant for selfishness and betrayal, like Cindy, aka Black Cindy, or Tova Hayes? Did you watch it because you hoped some of the characters could find true redemption, even if it was never likely for a group of women who are prone to making bad choices, like Maria Ruiz, and especially when the redemption is deserved, like Joe Caputo? Did you only watch it because you are too lazy and selfish to change the channel, and are oddly attracted to some of these women, like the prison guards, including Joel Luschek or C.O. Artesian McCullough? I did not know that was her first name until I looked that up. That's okay. Though you felt hopeless at times watching it, thinking some parts were almost too real to enjoy, you found a certain freedom in completing the whole series, like Blanca Flores. Though you intended to quit watching, something or someone, maybe you're a podcast producer, drew you back in against your better judgment, like Natalie or Figueroa. Did you watch it because you keep falling into the same traps, like the promise that this show would have improved or returned to its former glory, like Aleda Diaz? Did you watch it but think the show lost its mind by the end, and you refused to acknowledge any of the seasons set in Max, as it became harder to see the show's former excellence in the most recent seasons, since they seemed to be the product of the network or the show's effort to stay relevant when it was clearly past its prime, like Lorna Morello?
Aww.
Well, that fit her character. Did you only watch it because you had to, though you fortunately know how to survive whatever the show throws your way? For better, like Frida Berlin, or for worse, like Dayanara or Daya Diaz? Or you didn't watch it anymore because, spoiler, you were transferred to Polycon, Ohio, like Big Boo, So-So, Janae, the Meth Heads, the Supremacists, and others. You were deported, like Maritza, or you died, spoiler, 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 like Tiffany, Pensatucky, Doggett, Daddy, and so on. Who would like to start?
I can go first.
Okay.
Nick.
Hi, Nick.
I feel like I fall more in the Gloria Flocka area because...
Last time you were Nikki.
Yeah, this wasn't my favorite season. Especially listening to you name all the characters and how many times in my head I was like, I didn't really like that storyline or where they took it. But there's still elements of the show that I really enjoyed. There's still good storytelling, and I wanted to find out what happened to these characters. So like I kind of really, I guess, more enjoyed, even though it was hard to watch, like seeing how the ICE detainment camp, and I guess shedding light on that storyline gave more purpose for a season 7, I guess, to start telling that. I feel like a lot of things weren't executed well overall throughout the season, though.
Well, gee, way to come out the gate with that one, Nick. Welcome back, Nick.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi. So last time I was Nikki and all of the villains because I had more of a passing interest than for prior seasons.
It was a very schizophrenic answer at the time.
It was, and my interest has continued to decline in the show. I was hoping it would get better, and it didn't. So for that reason, I'm going to be in the red camp. I didn't forget why I started watching the show, but I remembered why. But just real passing interest. Wasn't a huge fan. Oh, okay. So I'm kind of skimming through the characters again because there's a lot. So I'm
there's less than there have been.
I know there's less than there had been. So I'm also going to say that I also was hoping that some of the characters got some sort of redemption, or they got their deserved ending in a way. I'll be also in the Maria Ruiz and Caputo camp a little bit, but mostly red.
Okay.
Mostly red. Yeah.
That is so funny because those were the 3 I was waffling between. The ones that have been
choose multiple.
So this is Amanda, and I am totally all over the place, but definitely have the importance of the social issues. I think that's still there in this show, and I think it addresses things that a lot of other shows don't come near to touching. And I did remember what I liked about it because that's part of what it is, but like Red, I was kind of feeling like, I do this a lot, so maybe it might also be me, but by the time a show ends, I'm like, it could be done. I'm good. I make peace with leaving. But I did want to see some of our favorite characters possibly have some redemption. You know, there's some of them that we have talked about we love more than others. So I did want to see some good things happen for some of them, and some of it worked out, some of it didn't.
All right. Well, welcome back, Kristen and Amanda, since you were twinning that response.
We tend to in real life, too. So.
Hi, I'm Krista.
Hi, Krista.
I am leaning in the red camp also, but mostly for the last part of it, of that the ending was probably the best it was going to be. It was never going to be perfect, and it was never going to hit all the fan base favorites in any way. But I felt like they kind of did it justice. From where we started to where we ended, we saw there was definitely an arc for everybody. And some of them had terrible endings, and some of them had meh endings, but like that's how life works. Of course, the social issues and the ICE detainment was heartbreaking and horrible. And I think it added an element to the show plot-wise that was different than what we've seen before. That if they had just kept us in Max and nothing changed, that would have been a much bigger letdown than what happened. So I'm gonna go red and I guess Blanca. Only because I love Blanca.
Okay. Well, welcome back, Krista. That's quite a tumble down for most people since last time you were Nikki and Red, but Red was better up on the scale.
Red was also not a great character in season 6, though.
And 7, you mean?
Whatever.
Uh-huh. And
No, wait, this is season 7. I mean, last time would have been season 6.
So you're saying she wasn't good last time?
Well, she bailed on seeing her grandkids so she could try and kill... What's her name?
Frida. That's true.
That's not great.
No. None of them make good choices. They're all in prison.
Some people just wanted a better life for their children.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that. But the point is, you slid, Amanda slid, because you were Piper and Alex and part Nikki the last time. And, of course, Kristen mentioned her dichotomous answer from the last time.
I always do.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
So, of course, my name is Kylie. I'm moderating and participating, such as my voice will allow. So if I sound scratchy, hey, it's winter in Michigan. Last time, I was Nikki and Piper and Alex and Tasty.
Sheesh.
I know. Don't judge me. Sometimes you need multiple characters. This time, I don't know if I would slide all the way down. I think I would be Red, actually. I didn't forget why I started watching it. I do remember. But I think I agree with Krista. I think the ending was probably the best we were going to get based on the trajectory that they were currently fostering. And I also would probably say there was one other that I kind of wrote with myself in mind. But now I don't remember which it was. Oh, probably Blanca. Though I felt hopeless at times watching it, thinking some parts are almost too real to enjoy, I also found a certain freedom in completing the whole series. I'm ready to be done with the show.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt at the end. And I'm not sad that I watched it, but I'm also not totally in love with how it landed. And we're going to talk about that. Mm-hmm. So welcome back for our final recording panel of Orange is the New Black. So let's talk about this 7th season, which appears to have somewhat let down everybody. Be specific.
I wouldn't say that it let me down. It was what I expected.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of, it wasn't going to be a big happy ending for everybody.
I went into, it would be a disservice to the show if everyone's life ended happily ever after.
Right, it's not the show.
But it was how the stories were told. I don't know. I think Red, they tried to use that character to tell a story, and I think they kind of missed the landing. Mm-hmm. They just they basically told us why they were telling that story. The shoe is bad, solitary is bad, we need to shut it down. But then we didn't really explore it until at the end you saw how bad it was. But I feel like if the point was to maybe help people who don't realize what solitary does to people, or I don't know, it didn't land for either the character or what I perceived was why they were trying to tell that story with Red. So that was a letdown. I don't know why Pennsatucky had to die. Like, I don't know what that helped in the storytelling.
I disagree with...
Help me.
Pennsatucky. There had to be some drama. There had to be something for Tasty. And now I do agree that Tucky dying was potentially not required, but it's very believable.
It is. I just don't think it was executed well. It really, I feel like they definitely wanted us to hate Luschek. Like, oh, if you didn't know if you should like this character or not, even though he has a itty tiny bit of...
I mean, he's kind of a douche.
Yeah.
As a general rule.
Every once in a while, he's a little bit less of a douche. And that's about the best we can say about him.
Right, but it's pretty clear that... I don't know if I liked that she passed or didn't. That was almost a bigger letdown. Because she went to drugs because she assumed she failed. Because she didn't get the extra time. Because, I don't know. It just...
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. It's just sad, but also, in my opinion, very much something she would do.
And something that could easily happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see all that.
And she probably... I mean, we don't even know if she was trying to kill herself.
No, I don't necessarily think she was.
I don't think she was. I think
it was accidental.
Yeah.
But it's the tragedy
fake
of
heroin, cheap heroin.
Turning back to those old coping self-medication strategies because that loss of hope. I think it's really poignant. I think it reflects some of the issues, with self-medication that we see in the country. So it speaks to some things that are, like the show always does, current events and things that people are struggling with. It's just really depressing because you can see that she was capable and smart and on her way, and she had finally figured out that there was a reason for why she had been struggling in the past. She gets an explanation, and then it just all comes to naught, and that feels really frustrating.
It's really frustrating, especially for me. That character starts out as someone that if we met in real life, we would assume that there's no hope for redemption. That character's taken away at the end. I think it does more harm for me for rewatching now, if I do rewatch. But, like, showing her being friends with Big Boo and then with Suzanne, like, that was an awesome story arc. Like, I loved it throughout. Even that was part of what I liked about this season, was her relationship with Suzanne, seeing that more.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know. It took a little away. I don't know if they thought singing the Mountain Dew jingle would be a bigger payoff. I don't know. But it's just one of the things that was kind of disappointing. I didn't mind that.
It was cute and funny, and I also thought really sad because seeing Red in Florida was really upsetting. But that's what dementia does. So to your earlier point about Red's story of it kind of didn't make any sense, but to me, that's what dementia and Alzheimer's is. It's just people just are suddenly just not there anymore.
I don't think that was his point.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, I think it's the idea that giving, and I'm going to piggyback now on that one because I agree with Nick. The reason why they introduced this storyline was not so much to show the effects of dementia. It was to demonstrate that prison can cause harm to prisoners, particularly out of solitary. And
right.
Right.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
got distracted by something.
Because they literally say, like, the infection she got that wasn't treated triggered this
Urinary
and made it
tract
worse
infection.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
accelerated it.
And the problem I have with that storyline, other than the severe underuse and, frankly, waste of Kate Mulgrew in the last season, because she's one of the best actresses on the show, if not the best, is that it didn't, like Nick said, it didn't really demonstrate it because it was not a through line. They find her, Warden Ward shuts it down, they put her up in Florida, and then she just kind of has her character moments with Nikki and with Morello, and that's it. And and Frida by the end, and there's really nothing left to that character, which I don't think is an issue of awareness that the show had to really delve into, per se.
With what,
Given everything else,
Right.
I mean, if they wanted to show prisoners of old age, what happens to them, they didn't really drive that point home with her. And if they were going to do that with somebody, I wish they had not picked Red, because or written it better. That was my
They could have written it in a way where she had more moments and more time of, like, realizing that this was happening to her, and her maybe helping mentor Nikki to get to where Nikki ends up, which I don't mind that for Nikki, how she's like the new Red and helping mentor. But if we could have seen it, like, build to that more instead of it just kind of happened or she realized it needed to happen. But
We gotta focus on our favorite girl, Piper.
So,
Sorry.
let's leave Piper for a second, because I have many, many, many thoughts.
We spent so much time with her.
well, she's the main character.
No, she's not.
Let me just get there. Hold on, because
Okay.
I want to respond to Pennsatucky. I have mixed feelings about them choosing Tucky to die, but I think I kind of lean more in the Krista Amanda argument camp, because they needed somebody to show that it wasn't going to be all a happy ending, and I thought, they were gearing up for it to be tasty the whole time.
Yeah.
And what they
I
did
was
was
worried
pull
it
the
was
bait and switch.
Yeah.
And I was worried it was gonna be Nikki,
Yeah.
which would have been way worse.
Yeah. You see, I think they do a relatively okay job of at least building up Pensatucky's emotional state, because she literally goes up and down and up and down and up and down. She finally gets to almost that peak of hope, as Amanda was saying, and then the rug is taken out from under her. And it's something small, but sometimes that's what happens, especially when you're already feeling somewhat hopeless for a time, and it just totally shatters you. And plus the temptation, the whole drug business inside the prison, that gave that a purpose, because otherwise it was meaningless and stupid, and I have strong feelings about Daya as well.
But it was interesting in the writing or direction or whatever. We stayed with Tucky all through the party after the exams and everything. And then we lost both her and Tasty at the same time, and we didn't know, which I thought was very good in terms of like storytelling.
No major disagreement on that point.
No.
Does that make you feel better about it?
I get what you're just saying. I don't know. It didn't land well for me, and I don't think it was too...
Was it too late in the season, maybe?
I think so, and I was more frustrated with the little moments that brought up to it, like, and this is the balance of, obviously, the show and what it's about, but, like, I was getting invested in, like, things working out from the classes and stuff, and it would, every time there was a setback, like when Caputo had to step back, and I was really annoyed with why the teacher had to leave, how that was the writing choice, even though that is something that could happen when Daya and her group threatened him. Like, so that all leading up to Luschek not asking for more time. I think I was just more frustrated with those little things leading up to it, where I was more like, because of all those stupid little things, but I guess that was probably their point.
So Piper.
Do we have to?
Well,
Save
I
it
know.
for last.
whether she's the main character or not the main character, we're going to have to hit on her sometime. Or hit her, depending upon how you like to say it.
It just is, right? Like, I think we need it because it's the way the story starts out, right? Like, we have to see her reintegrating, air quotes. And so, you know, in that transition, and because, like, it's based on a real person, I mean, loosely, but she did return to real life. And so I think, in a way, to be true to the source material at least a little, I think you have to see that. You know what I mean? Like,
It's so far from the source material.
well, I know, but, like, you're still, like, you've started this premise of we're going to watch her journey and then watch her end it. And so, like, that's the arc that they set up from the very beginning. I think you had to do something, even though we don't like where she went as a character.
Right.
Do we feel like her arc ended?
No.
No, I think that's kind of the point.
In the
Like-
book, she leaves prison and the book ends.
Right, and she's still married. She's currently still married to her version of Larry. I don't know if
Correct.
that's his name. I don't know if I'm more frustrated because there is leeway in whether she's back with Alex, or we're supposed to assume because she's talking to her in Ohio that they're still together. But I feel
think-
like this whole season was leading up to that they shouldn't be together, and that her being with her is a mistake for her.
It is a mistake for her.
So that
Big
is
mistake. Bitch.
really
Piper's
frustrating
dumb.
for this show.
I do think you are supposed to assume that she ignored everybody's rather sobering advice from her dad to Larry, even the little bits from Zelda, who I thought was delightful, that played by Alicia Witt. She's done things like Sybil and stuff.
So it's really annoying to me.
Go make out with Zelda.
Because with
Okay.
Alex isn't in her life, she has a better relationship with her dad. She has a job. She even was able to have an adult relationship with her ex and her friend who's with... She was able to make rational choices, and I don't know. I think it was pretty obvious that she should stay away from Alex.
Well, it's clear they're toxic, but I think they did that to pander to the fans. There are people that think the Piper-Alex relationship is the end-all be-all of this show.
Weird.
So
That
not.
is very sad.
Yeah.
We all know it's
Are
Kate
they
Mulgrew.
watching the same show?
Sorry, listeners, if you're on that train,
Oh.
you're headed in a very different direction than the
Yeah,
rest of
Yeah.
you're not going to enjoy this podcast.
No.
I don't mind those two together in prison. It was annoying at certain parts, especially leading
Right.
up to it, but like I can get behind the writing and the characters. Like they were unknown in this unknown that is prison, this chaos. I think the show actually did a good job of showing Piper grow away from Alex and Alex grow away from Piper, and that was probably the most adult thing, a redeeming thing Alex did, was when she told her to be done. So to undo that is just annoying.
I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I'm not the biggest fan of Laura Prepon.
I like her.
I like her too.
I mean, she was great as Donna on that 70s show.
I don't have a problem with her. I didn't have a problem with anything that happened with Alex in the prison and her storyline in the prison. It's just
It's
her and
something that
Piper
rubs me the
together.
wrong way, and I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I think she's much more interesting when she's not having anything to do with Piper.
They're toxic
That
together.
is true.
They're
Her scenes in the prison without Piper were
Better.
More
better.
interesting, yeah.
maybe just their chemistry, or sort of lack thereof.
Well, and I just think there's
Or the
not...
writing.
Yeah, is there really anything that interesting in watching a destructive toxic relationship.
For 7 years.
Yeah.
Right. I think we were mostly over it. Like,
Maybe that's
just
Yeah.
end it, stop doing this.
Well, it was so much back and forth of,
So much
you
back
know,
and
they're not together, then they're together, and they're not together, and they're together, and then they, you know, one's out of prison, then comes back to prison, and the other one gets out of prison, and it was too much. It's just, if you want them together, let them be together. I don't know. I got tired of the Ross and Rachel with them over these 7 years.
Well, and
Ross and Rachel didn't even do it that many times.
And Friends was on the air a lot longer. Yeah, I was just really tired of their relationship at the end. I didn't care, and I completely agreed. It was very toxic.
well, and Piper painting to Larry that Alex is basically her soulmate. I don't think the show did any service to show us that at all.
No.
No, because even during Piper's speech, what I got from that was the character, probably wasn't even the actor choice, but watching that, it was like her defending something that she's realizing in that moment is wrong. Like, that's how that scene ended, that conversation with Larry was her getting that realization. Or maybe that's what I wanted, but I don't know. We've all been in arguments with someone when they realize that they're wrong, they dig their heels in.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like she was going to walk away from that and process everything. She didn't. So
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
No, I agree. I think we spent too much time with Piper. That was already a negative. But then to arrive at that conclusion made it seem totally not worth it in the end. And I felt like we didn't spend enough time with some of the others. Like, I felt some of, like, Maria's story was really short-shrifted compared to Piper's. And she probably had a little bit more to mine there between her co-parenting with her baby daddy, I guess, maybe, if it's not the one in the department store. I think they left that ambiguous.
They left that.
Or, you know, her path to redemption. I mean, there's all kinds of characters we could have spent more time with that were more interesting, that are not as reviled, certainly by this panel, as Piper.
The only thing I think they did that I think we did need from Piper's story is a character who comes from fairly decent background with a family that she has someone she could live with. She's a dad that, as hard as it is, she could borrow $50 from, get a job from, and that it's still that difficult to get back on your feet after prison. I think that's important for the show to show, because they've showed that in various different ways, and we get into what's her name, Daya's mom, Aleda's story and how she ended up back there. But like, she was the only one that we saw get out that did well, and the only reason she did well is because she was selling drugs, which, and then she did get back in, but it wasn't for selling drugs.
It wasn't the first time she was thrown back in jail during the series.
That's
by the
true.
way.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what I kind of was in my head thinking, but you articulated much more effectively, is that's what we were sort of promised with the show. The premise is watching someone who has every conceivable advantage and they still struggle.
Like, and I don't know how true to life it is or from state to state different, but that, like, you need a job or you can go back to jail when it's so much harder to get a job, and you have to pay for all that other stuff out of pocket when your resume is, I've been in prison for X amount. Like, that is...
I don't think all of that's true in Michigan. I do think it varies from state to state. So I guess it would be worth researching New York's laws on that subject.
I hope someone PA did somewhere before they wrote it, but who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
So that's the Piper storyline aspect that I appreciated seeing bits and pieces, and even though...
But bits and pieces.
Right.
Not every episode,
No.
which she was in.
And it seemed like they really devoted half the time
To her.
to her and every. So
Yeah.
if she's not considered the main character by that standard, I don't know who is.
Yeah.
She literally gets half the screen time. Yep.
So that didn't help. This whole feeling about... So now I would like to...
So much.
I know, right? Now I would like to rant about Daya.
Oh.
If there was ever a character that I really felt they torpedoed by the end,
Oh my goodness.
That
it's Daya.
they destroyed her.
Really, for reasons that I cannot okay, I'm like trying to think through all of the myriad social issues. Why Daya?
And
To get to a point where I don't even care about her.
Correct. I hate her by this
We don't
point.
have any...
Yeah.
I don't... As a viewer, I'm not invested in her storyline. I'm only... I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you, Kylie.
and does it make ever since she picked up that gun, I'm like, is this even the same person?
That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what character choice?
Other than it's her mom's daughter somewhere in there.
Or Bennett abandoned her because he got on How to Get Away with Murder. And he never came back.
That's true.
I feel like once he left, like once they showed a random actor like dumping the crib and leaving, I feel like they just didn't know what to do with her character anymore. When he was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. Okay, what else can we do to make her interesting?
I don't think it was that.
I don't know. I don't
just
know.
feel like at the start she was so
Likeable?
sweet. Like she had this
Sympathetic.
sweetness to
Yeah.
her that you were like, okay, yeah, she
her
clearly
art.
did something bad. But yeah, there was something like very sensitive and human about her, and then like
And smart, really.
yes, and like you could see that like sensitivity, and so that like she was really an interesting character in that way because everybody else always seemed so hard, and she was so wanting to still be open to experiences and life, and like in a good way, in a positive way. And then to turn into what she did is just
Yeah.
And again,
Agreed.
maybe it does come back to why her, because I think part of it was, you do now when you look back, I think two of the characters that are in for life now that weren't in for life when we started watching this show, it does end with Tasty trying to make the world a better place from her corner of it, and Diam, well, at the end, who knows? Did her mom kill her? Like,
We don't know. They left that completely. Of all the characters, the one open ending
a
is
karate
Diam.
chop to her throat.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
And
a lot of those ice people, we don't know for sure what happened.
Oh, yeah, but a lot of those characters were introduced this season. I think,
Yeah,
I think not knowing what happened is part of the choice, because they showed us a couple. They showed us
I'll be
basically
honest,
the best case scenario, and then a couple worst
I
case.
cared about them more than I cared about Dia.
Well, and
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with Nick. I think they did that deliberately.
No, I know they did that deliberately.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I cared more about what happened to that girl in Egypt than I care about Dia.
Yeah.
I know. Well, and it's a travesty to me because at least with Tasty, you can draw that story back to the Black Lives Matter movement and to the general unfair treatment, discrimination, systemic racism that applies to people of color in prison.
That she's been talking about forever.
Correct. And she's in some ways, not that it's okay, I mean, that's part of the problem, but she's has to learn to deal with the cards she's been handed, basically. Dia, they made her a stereotype, and I think that's what makes me feel icky about it. They turned her into a drug dealer. She's one of the Latina characters. She was the one who probably had the most promise, and she became a drug dealer. And it's like, this is not the story that feels right for the here and now, particularly when you are juxtaposing it against the ICE detention center. It just feels icky. And to leave it open-ended and to, I don't even know if they're trying to depict a mother-daughter falling out. I mean, Aleda's a hot mess. We got to see that poignant flashback of how she became a prostitute at 12 or something. But it's still, that's what she was doing.
Yep.
She was turning tricks and
Oh, when
The
she was
ice
little.
cream.
Yeah,
when she
yeah.
was little.
It's the
I
ice
think
cream.
the start.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
so
I remember now.
so upsetting.
I
Yeah.
know.
Ugh.
And, I get that this happens in society, but we're kind of past that at this point in the series, and it just feels icky.
It feels like they brought up a lot of other things to try to tackle in a season where they are trying to end the storyline for these characters and deal with the ICE detention, which I don't think they had enough time to
do it
deal
justice.
with that at all. No. I feel like all the flashbacks were just in the way and didn't really help.
Except for
anything.
Pensatucky's. I thought hers was
Sure, hers are the... Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, there's moments in a few of them, but they either went on too long or didn't really seem to help tell that character story too much. There's a couple, but...
And we didn't really need the montage of flashbacks for the people that we met in the detention center. I think they did enough to paint their picture without showing it to us full on with Shawnee and Carla and the people that we meet. There's just a lot of wasted celluloid, I feel like. Or digital, whatever.
I guess I didn't mind the ice ones, just because I really enjoyed those characters. And I liked knowing more about what they were fighting for or about, especially because we were seeing them, in trial and literally fighting for their lives. I thought all the ice stuff was very well done, and it was a really nice redemption moment for Fig as well.
That was probably one of the few character arcs. I mean, she had an arc, and there was a couple times where it was like, man, season 1, we could have been done with her after season 1.
This was the first season she was made a regular.
Seeing the realities of the detention center and the trial with the children.
Jeez.
I mean, I think all that stuff was done well. I agree.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess I didn't need the extra layering because there was enough that was told verbally.
Yeah.
And if you had been paying attention, you didn't really need to see it.
Yeah, I think that the flashbacks were done mostly just to really give us that emotional connection to these brand new characters, knowing we were only going to get, a very limited number of episodes in time with them. I felt like, was it Carla? I felt with her story, because she's the one with the 2 kids that were in foster care. Yeah, I felt the flashbacks with her, and then especially seeing the end of her story where she's broken or severely twisted her ankle out in the desert and left behind. I really felt for her. And I think her initial flashback really helped with that because we don't have a ton of time. So it really helped form that connection or that bond with her, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think that character brought a lot, really personalized to what is happening to people. I mean, one thing that this show did was show that these are people not being treated by people, and the justification is that they're illegal, and then they're also showing that some of these people aren't even illegal. They were just swooped in because of the language they speak or the color of their skin, and they don't have any of the opportunities. Every opportunity, the free lawyers, just kept getting taken away from them. So I think that storyline really helped, and then it did connect to one of our main characters.
Mm-hmm. To Maritza and Blanca.
Well, and that's one of the things that this series has traditionally done well, is use the specific to illustrate the general. And so, there were still moments where I think it did that really well, and then there's times where we're very confused about what the specific was supposed to illustrate.
I think a lot of what they did well, I think, took away from the characters that we were used to having a story for as well.
Which I guess is my point. It's the final season.
Right.
You're supposed to be heading toward an ending, and then we've got a brand new story. A big story. Which I enjoyed all those characters too, and I get what you're all saying, but I also felt a little annoyed by it, because it was like, okay, we're on episode 8, 9, 10. What?
Yeah,
are we
what's
wrapping
the
this
end
one
game
up,
here?
or
Yeah.
what's going on?
Like I said, I did like to see some of our OG kitchen crew back together.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yes.
They did try to do a little bit of things like that just to give us... I like that they ejected Baddison real early, so we didn't have to put up
Baddison
with her.
and Daddy, they were like, let's
Yeah,
remove them
get rid of
immediately.
them. They're terrible, we don't like them, bye.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I felt like they did that right away when they sent Baddison to the shoe, and Daddy died, and I was like, oh, good. But then Baddison came out of the shoe, I was like, oh, man. And then she was gone.
Yeah, they shipped her. They shipped her off.
Well, there's a lot.
Like what?
I don't know how I feel about Caputo's story. There are parts I liked. I liked him teaching and helping and giving back. And I think it's just him with the Me Too aspect.
That was so clunky.
When I look back at it, I was like, oh, is this just a way to get that character back? Because they seemed like they were trying to give almost every character a scene. We can talk about whether or not we needed Judy King, which I guess we did for money, but it just seemed like we need to see
as a cameo
everyone.
that did work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it... Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
But for
I
the-
agree. The Me Too storyline was very clunky, and
That
it
was
seems
bad.
like it was just shoehorned in here. Like, oh, this is a really big topic. We got to get it in here.
I think that's what
But
I
they
agree,
didn't
Kristen.
do it well, and I think it took away from what...
And,
They were trying to do.
Joe didn't get it
No.
at all.
No.
And I kept yelling at the TV, I'm like, you need to listen to Fig, because Fig kept being like, shut your mouth. Don't do anything. This is not your story.
And again, it seemed like another... He takes the bad advice of a character I don't think we needed to see again.
It actually would have worked
Yeah.
better if they'd have dragged him into court, because he discriminated against her. He fired her in retaliation for her objection to a sexual harassment. That is against Title VII. So, somebody might do that in their real life.
You know, if she had sued him, or it had been some sort of, I don't know. It just felt like it was a Facebook post and suddenly it was viral.
It was
Yeah.
a Facebook post that didn't name him, so it was like this...
At first.
Well, and she only named him because he went to her house.
Right.
Which Fig told
Like
him
a
not to do.
total creep.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's
And then
part
they
of the
added
problem.
comedy with him grabbing his testicles while he's talking to her because of the stitch popped. Like, I don't know. It's like they didn't know what they were doing there.
Well, and like we've talked in past seasons about how like he's an idiot, but he usually has good intentions. And for me, that somewhat undermines the Me Too movement. Like, because then it's like, oh, but he's a decent guy and he's been misunderstood. And like, I'm sorry, but a lot of those creeps that are getting called out in public are not actually decent guys. Like, they're gross. And so, like, but like the character, it's another like, why are we changing this character all of a sudden? Yes, he's kind of always been a bit of a buffoon and a bumbling idiot, but then I think we're undermining that movement, which I don't think fits with the way this show normally handles these things. And it made me feel like, well, now I feel bad, like he's being victimized by this Me Too movement, when that's not what the movement's about. It's about the women who have been victimized by inappropriate behavior, or men too, I suppose. And then I felt like it was undermining that, so that I got real heated about.
Yeah. Well, I agree, and even if they wanted to, because there is that antithetical line in Me Too, where now there's the reactionary, oh, people are just getting accused and being whatever without properly heard or investigated. Okay, but the problem with the Caputo storyline is A, he admitted all of his behavior, and B, again, he took that extra step of firing her after the unwanted advances, and that makes it next level. That's like not even just garden variety, everyday sexual harassment. That's retaliation. That's bad. You basically, so yeah, he doesn't get it. He never gets it. And I felt very little for him by the end of the show. I felt more for Fig, which I never thought would happen.
Yeah, and the Fig stuff was, I think, really good writing. The Caputo stuff, I think, was poor writing on that. I feel like we should have liked Caputo at the end. I feel like he should have been helping Tasty more. He still had that moment with her, and that how much he helped her. But when he said that he fired her because she wasn't a good CO, like, that doesn't hold a lot of water when Porn Stash gets one of the inmates killed, and Loose Check is working there.
Yeah, she could sue him through the teeth and win under Title VII. I'm telling you. She's got comparatives. She's got his admission. That's millions of dollars right there. Just saying.
That's Caputo. I'm trying to think of something.
Cindy. What about Cindy?
Oh, Cindy.
She gets released. She tries to live at home. Tasty, in an eye for an eye sort of a way, writes a letter to Monica to inform her that Cindy is in fact her mother, not her sister.
That broke my heart.
It did, but the way they wrote that, they still put it on Cindy, because Cindy's mom said, you stay here and we will talk this out. So, like, her mom even, like, the letter didn't, it caused this eruption, but she chose to leave.
Still.
Yeah, she
Yes.
still, yeah.
Well, but here's where the show actually did that character a service.
Well, I'm not saying I thought that was bad.
Okay, good. Because that's in keeping with what she's done all the time.
Right.
It's true to her.
But having reached a very low point, which is, okay, I'm getting a job, but I'm homeless and being evicted from my whatever camp that is, and, you know, not knowing what to do or where to go in my life, and realizing that it's the sum of her choices that got her there, I think she's got one of the best redemption arcs of any of the characters. She
does. What I would have liked, I think, and maybe I'm just forgetting, was like another revisit. Right now, all I remember is the last thing is them at Burger. Was it Burger King?
No, it's that, you know, special...
Storkies?
Yeah, Storkies.
I would have liked maybe seeing them all together once, like they are coming to see her and she's following through with it.
There was a very, very, very brief...
Was there?
During that final montage.
Yeah.
Okay.
While Piper's driving, there was something of them, all them together at Storkies.
I probably didn't see it because I was rolling my eyes at Piper.
Probably legitimate.
Or trying to figure out who the random guy with the little daughter was, and figuring out it was Porn Stash without his mustache, and
yeah, that
took a bit, like, oh, way back. Yeah, Cindy's the one I wanted her to make, because she's come so far, I wanted her to make that different choice, and I wanted her to stay, and talk it out, and I wanted her to make the right choice, but you're right, Kylie, she did stay true to form, so it wasn't surprising, but it was still a little heartbreaking.
It was. But she makes the right choice in the end.
She makes the right choice, and she... almost even more respectable, like, keeps going to her job, and even though it's that much harder, she doesn't have a place to live, to sleep. She made it more difficult for herself, and she's coming back from it. So.
She's actually good at that job, too. It's a hard job, you know.
I can only imagine.
I don't remember what it is.
She's a CNA in a senior's home.
Yeah. That interview was really cute where she's
Probably
like...
not a CNA. She's at least an aide.
She's a caregiver, which is very, very difficult. So if anyone does that job in real life and you're listening, I applaud you, because that's not easy.
So that's good. We talked about that. How about Lorna? I mean, you all went, when I read my character description.
Had a psychotic break.
Yeah, she did.
Which, unfortunately, even though it was tough to watch, I mean, we've been watching that decline the whole time. So
It wasn't surprising.
right.
No, but it was sad. It was
so
super weird
heartbreaking.
with those stolen baby pictures, just like super bizarre.
She doesn't
And
know
when
how to
Nikki
cope.
found out that Sterling died because her ex-husband came,
Vinny.
Vinny, who ended up being a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a good
he
guy.
did. Yeah, but I think wasn't he going to divorce her now just because he can't handle...
I think they were already divorced and he was worried.
No.
No.
He asked
He
for
asked
the
for-
divorce
Yeah.
because of the Instagram account.
Yeah,
Showing
The multiple
her complete.
Instagram
complete
accounts.
just
Yeah.
losing it. And
Yeah, they didn't spend too much time with
Oh,
that visit, and it might have done the character a little bit more service if it was like, if you can't get beyond this, we might need a divorce. Like, he went to that. But it's also, he lost his son too. He doesn't, like, that's
yeah,
a
that's
lot
Probably,
to
no,
be
probably
dealing
know
with.
they've had those conversations.
Right, exactly.
Which
That's why I
is
think
kinda
showing
how
it might
they-
have helped him, but...
Well, I think they kind of set up the scene that way. Like, he makes some comment somewhere along the
Yeah.
conversation of, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that it was implied that he's
Yeah.
tried multiple
She's just
times.
not. And she's
She-
had
she
breaks
can't.
before, but this seemed...
Well, it is that how much can you live with, and how much do you keep trying and going back, and then having to deal with the hurt of her not facing reality. It'd be really hard.
Was she in for life?
No, she just had the stalking conviction, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
the
don't-
bad credit fraud.
Yeah. But I don't think she got anything added on to her with the riot. So
No.
she just got transferred
No,
to...
because she went into early labor. That's why Sterling was in the NICU. He
Yeah.
was born prematurely.
But yeah, she was just kind of sent to Max because they didn't have anywhere else to...
Yeah, after
Center.
Litchfield closed.
Yeah.
They all just stayed in Max.
I know, it's weird that they didn't reopen the camp.
Or send them to a different camp.
I mean, some of them did. That
In
is what
Ohio.
happened. Yeah.
Polycon, Ohio.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm so happy that we got to see all those people. It was so nice to see Yoga Jones after...
That's
Forever.
Nick's favorite, Yoga Jones.
Yeah. It was just nice to see her and So-So and Boo and, I don't know, I was wondering what happened to them. And I'm happy that we got a little snippet of their life in Ohio together, that they're still hanging out. And...
But I'm still mad that they shipped him off. Like,
Yeah,
They already had too many characters to service.
they did.
Well, and then they introduced new ones in Max. They
I
could have
know.
just
Yeah.
put them all in an overcrowded prison. That's real.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying.
Max was probably already full before Litchfield was thrown in there. Because Litchfield went to a riot because they overcrowded that. So if there was a room...
Hey, Linda the worst makes
Ugh.
things happen all the time.
So
Linda.
Thankfully, we were limited exposure to her.
the only reason I would have wanted more Linda is if she had some sort of like comeuppance.
She didn't.
She
She
did.
had nothing. She's
No,
just
she's
she's excelling at her job and at being a horrible person.
Yeah, stereotypically overly privileged, horrible person.
I mean, she was a stereotype of a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe those people exist.
Right.
They
oh
do,
yeah.
they
I mean,
do
Oh,
exist.
yeah.
Yeah, they do.
there are
No,
prisons
I
are still
I
owned
wasn't
by...
doubting it.
Oh.
I'm just saying, as ridiculous as she was, there are those people.
Mm-hmm.
You want to believe it's a caricature, and
And
But
It's-
I know
it's
it's not
not.
because I see Donald Trump's Twitter.
You got a minute. That's funny.
I'm sorry, I'm a teacher. We're not allowed to express opinions publicly, so that's just so awkward for me because I live in that world. It's okay.
This is why I don't get on the Twitter.
I don't do that. Yeah, I don't do
I don't do Twitter.
The only people that we haven't really mentioned are, first of all, I feel like we should give some kind of nod to Floritza. They were reunited only to be torn apart again.
Maritza's ending just broke my heart.
I know, I really am mad at her mom.
Yeah.
She turns out to be undocumented, even though she always believed she was born in America. And was picked up and was deported to a country she's never known, Colombia.
Yeah, that was definitely hard to watch.
And that totally happens.
Right now.
That's
just facts.
Yes.
Not political.
I think
she had no choice to be in America. She doesn't know this other country, and that's just...
Yeah. But I think to take somebody who we have a fondness for and who's, like, super likable in her, like, goofiness, and then have that happen to her, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, if she doesn't represent some of, like, the very, like, American, like, silly beauty standards and all of that sort of thing, like, she's so American in who she is, and yet she doesn't get to stay. It's just, I think that's poignant, you know, that's the sort of thing that I think the show sometimes does effectively, is you don't like what happened to the character, but you're like, you've made a point, and because we've cared about her all along and been entertained by her, then it hits home worse for us. And it humanizes that type of story where, you know, I might not have access to people like in that situation in real life.
It also motivated Flocka first to give a very inappropriate nickname to the ICE Detention Center captain, and then to continue Gloria's work. Gloria is eventually released from prison in the finale. She fulfills her sentence. It was a near one because she smuggled a cell phone into the ICE kitchen and was caught, but she admitted it, and Loose Check, his one redeeming moment because he loves her, was to take the heat and get fired for that. But she's been acting as like a liaison for the detainees, trying to find family, passing notes, finding numbers, getting lawyers. Maritza's situation, not to mention Carla and Shawnee and everybody else they meet, it motivates Flocka to take on that work so long
After
as she's
Gloria
doing
leaves.
that after Gloria leaves. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really grown up of her.
It's the most grown up thing we've seen her do, I think.
Yeah.
And I like that it gave her a really good sense of purpose for her
did.
time there.
It really
Because she'll
did.
get out. Something to think about. Some of these people, like, they're definitely going to get out and look back on this time. It's interesting because we know we don't see the end of Carla and Shawnee, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Stories, but I was just researching for this, and on the Orange Wiki, they're presumed dead, and I'm like...
Carla's left in the desert, so that one I think is...
With a broken ankle.
Yeah.
I think
Shawnee, we
any
just
hope was
see
taken
being
away.
dragged away because she
Yeah.
was...
Well, yes, but her family will definitely kill her.
Right. That was part of her flashback.
Yeah.
Because she is gay, and that's frowned upon in her family.
So if they even get a whiff that she's coming back, you know, I'm sure they informed them. They probably don't.
No, they don't. I mean, it's just like Maritza. They're literally putting her on a plane, and then once they get there, she's on her own. They do nothing.
No, I know.
Well, maybe she found her way to Cairo and got lost. One can only hope. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The other person that we only mentioned really in passing, well, there's two people. First, Suzanne. She was the mayor of New Cluck City.
Which is the perfect job for her.
It was great.
And Lolly was her lieutenant mayor.
Which is amazing. Those two together were funny. They added some lightness to the show, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, they were
the
comic
highlight.
relief.
Yeah, they were very, very fun together.
And then we also, Frida.
They didn't do much with Frida.
Didn't
She's
mention Blanca.
Oh, well, we did. You're right.
A little
But we
bit,
didn't
sorry.
mention her end. We talked about her.
It was my
vis-a-vis
favorite ending.
Carla.
It was my
Yes.
favorite ending of the
Yeah,
whole show.
she had the best arc, too. From where we
she
saw
was like-
her in the bathroom stall, all crazy, talking on a cell phone, to
Diablo.
Diablo. Yeah.
They thought she was
her
a devil worshiper.
and Crazy Eyes. They both. Suzanne
Yeah.
is now. We don't even call her Crazy Eyes. Like
She's Suzanne.
they both had really. They were humanized. They were introduced to us like we might assume any prisoner is because
They were the outcasts in
Yeah.
some ways.
yeah.
One had an unibrow and a very stern consternation, and the other one was, as you said, Crazy Eyes. Kept calling Piper Dandelion. And
Didn't she pee in the...
She did.
I threw my pie for you, and
yeah.
all that business.
we get. I mean,
Yeah.
Suzanne, as
Memories.
much as she was comic relief, does have the realization of she doesn't belong there. There and her mom having that conversation with her mom that that's not where she should be.
No, she should be in a treatment center, which is sad. I mean, she's the type of defendant that should be able to plead insanity and be put into a psych ward that isn't a maximum security psych ward.
Yeah.
Right, and to actually get help.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The weird thing is she seemed to have gotten help, like, throughout this story. For the writing purposes, I don't think the intention was, her time in prison helped her, but at the end, she's the fixer, and
Because she has great friends.
She has great friends. I think the biggest thing we see is when you compare her reaction to Piette dying to Piette, she handled it really well, almost more healthily than a lot of other people could.
But Piette was a whole different.
No, it was different, but
they were still close.
But having that other loss not that far after
Yeah.
could have pushed her over further.
Yeah.
Because time-wise, we're thinking is what, like
Couple months.
A couple months after the riot?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I've
I
lost
don't know.
complete track of time on this
A
show.
lot of the
I
detention
know.
stuff made me feel like, okay, they're just kind of scrubbing the timeline, and it is today. That's what the detention center made me feel like.
I mean, it has to have been some time because Frida's trying to Shawshank her prison cell. And she's hoarding to keep all the people away.
I mean, smart. That girl's
Strategy.
she's got survival tactics, that one. So.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a lot in the
Oh, we
last
didn't
We
talk
did.
about the new warden.
We did it.
Warden Ward.
Tamika Warden Ward. Warden Tamika Ward. Tasty's friend.
I liked her.
She tried.
She tried to do so much good.
But I think
That's why we have the chickens.
it's true. And Caputo teaching restorative justice and the programs.
But she did that, and I think the programs were good and helpful.
Yeah, her ideas were great, and it would have been nice to, if she would have been able to stick around in that position longer, I think they would have seen some good progress,
But I don't think
It
she would
is-
have been able to. A lot of her
no.
progress was because she got to say on media that the money from closing down the psych ward they would be able to put into the programs,
Right.
which was not Polycon's.
Well,
plan.
and back to Linda the Worst, telling her she's, quote, a diversity hire, putting her
Yeah.
hands on her hair. That's one of the most
Yes.
subtle
Yeah.
racist things you can ever do. That kind of stuff. Like, she was clearly hired for a purpose. And even though she rose to the challenge, it's notable that the person they replaced her with after she was fired at the end was the drug dealing guard. Hellman or Heller or whatever his name was.
Well, and it's there. I mean, we saw the situations of like we were friends and we were equals and we've taken very different turns, but we still see the system working against both of them. And I think that's a really powerful message. I think it's one that they did handle well. Is that idea of even though she's done everything right and she's doing things that are maybe really good and could have a good impact, she's still undermined by the system.
And I think having Fig have a more weightier arc gave the scene of her giving Ward, a pep talk, saying it doesn't matter why you're here.
You're here now.
Yeah.
Do the job how you
And
want.
I think that was
Do the job.
a worthy scene to have, and I think it meant more from Fig with the story we were getting, and it actually gave back to Fig as well.
Yeah, she got redemption
She
a
did.
lot.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, like, you really didn't like her when
In
we
season
first
one,
met her.
no.
She was awful, and then she softened a lot.
And
She
some of
does.
that was Caputo, right?
And wanting to
Yep.
become a mom, I think. Unless they were hand in hand, chicken egg kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think those may have gone together.
Yeah.
I remember when they first started hooking up, we thought it was the grossest thing.
It's still a little
kinda
gross.
It's not so gross.
Is it? Oh, okay.
We're not saying that we're like 100% cool with it. We're just saying he softened her up.
Oh, I don't mind it.
I don't mind them as a couple. Some of the grossness, and they did a joke about it in this scene, was they showed them being intimate more than we needed.
Intimate. Not
Kylie
in a
had quotation
bed.
marks there.
Yeah.
It's always doggy style with them.
Yeah.
What the hell? That's
She
too
just-
much.
Maybe she didn't like to look at him. I don't know.
That's what I always kind of thought.
Yeah, it's like she just didn't want to see him. Sorry, I didn't mean for that to get inappropriate. Maybe she just doesn't like his face,
Hey, if it's on the show, it's appropriate.
right? But I did like I'll put an end cap on it here. I did like their last scene where they go to the orphanage. They were initially going to they wanted to look for a boy. It's easier to raise a boy in the world today than it is a girl or whatever they said. And then their head gets turned by this really cute, adorable young girl who's 4 or 5, and she's singing to them. She's
She's rapping a rather inappropriate song.
Yeah, but how perfect is that for them?
Yeah, it's perfect.
That's why they fell in love with her.
Yep.
They were like, she's
This
our
is our
people.
kid. Yeah, this is our daughter right here. So I liked their little bookend that they got a nice little redemptive arc.
So, given the end, do you have any lingering questions? I listed a few in the prompts. You may not have the same lingering questions I
Is
do.
Daya alive or dead?
That's my number one.
That's my number one.
I don't care.
It was so, I mean,
You're
it
like,
is
she can
weird.
die.
I mean, I just want a one-word answer. Yes or no? Is she alive? Yes or no?
I
That's
wish
all I need. I
wanted the
don't need
writers to
anything
decide.
else.
And to have her be killed by her mom, even if she is dead,
Or she's severely injured.
icky. The whole
The
thing
whole
is
thing
icky.
is... I mean, I get
I
it.
brought you into the world, I can take you out. I mean,
Because she's
Literally.
literally,
Right?
because getting the younger daughter into the drug trade is the reason why she's going after her. So I get
Can't
it.
blame her on that one.
Can't blame her, but
Well, it's not just that. They're also running rival drug businesses. Daya is basically taking her market share, especially once she gets thrown back in the can. She's trying to keep that drug business going, and Daya basically declares war on her mother, and of course her mother doesn't take that very well.
yeah, I felt like, though, when I was watching this scene, to me the motivation was more protect the daughter that is
Eva.
possible. Well,
Eva.
it's possible to save her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, well,
She doesn't have to end up like
I
us.
can't save you, and, like, we're both,
I think they would have landed better
Gone.
if she was not selling drugs as well,
yeah.
because she can try to protect her and insulate her younger daughter as much as she wants, but
If she's
just being
doing
around
it,
it is
right.
why Daya's doing it.
Well, but I don't think she's taking responsibility for
Her own answer.
her part in how her daughter turned out. Like,
Yeah.
she's not wanting to do that, and she's thinking somehow she can still protect her children from her actions when we know that that's not the case. But I don't think she sees it that way. She sees it as, I'm going to protect you.
Well, it was messed up,
It was.
and I don't like it.
Yep.
And I don't like the choice to leave that open-ended of all the characters and all the places. That's
That's the one
assuming
they
a lot.
chose.
Yeah. And shame on you writers. And yeah.
I personally really wish we had something better for Tasty.
Yeah.
I don't disagree
instead
with
of just
that.
the Pusey Washington Fund.
Yep, I wish
Like, maybe there's just more hope with her
More
case
hope.
getting reopened. I know they wanted to take all hope away from her.
well, I hear that. I also wish that there was, even in like that last little montage, if there was just some meeting with a lawyer or something.
Or finding Cindy again, since Cindy is the state's witness that got her locked up and would theoretically be the one to exonerate her. That was kind of
there.
She was, yeah. I mean, the excuse that the lawyer gave Tasty when they were going over Suzanne's story was, well, we tried to find Cindy, but we can't because that was at the time she was homeless. But if she's moving back into her mom and daughter's life,
And she's employed.
Yeah.
correct,
She would be trackable.
correct. It doesn't make much sense.
Right.
And it is enough to reopen, especially if the lawyer is from some sort of legal aid. It's enough to reopen that case and do a little legwork on.
Right. I mean, you've got to be able to get a warrant issued
That's at least a
or a
base.
summons or whatever they call
Yeah.
A basis for an appeal, if nothing else.
Yes.
Yeah, at least file the paperwork and see what happens. Like
it. I would
that.
think so.
That was the part that I had trouble with. And if not that lawyer, then some other lawyer, you know.
And like we all know she's innocent, so that's hard. But that's also the truth for millions of people, which is horrifying.
That's why, ideally, I wanted Tasty to have better, but from a storytelling perspective,
I totally get it.
it landed about where I expected it to land. I'm glad she didn't kill herself. That's where I was at in the end. Like, okay, she chose to survive, and there is a flicker of hope, and maybe it's she chooses to live her life in prison the way she's kind of set herself up, or maybe she does find a way to...
Because the Innocence Project was mentioned during her trial, and I'm like, maybe, even if there was just like a meeting, like we saw a sticker on someone's backpack or something, and like that was like the clue, something really, I don't know.
I just wonder if Cindy and Tasty will ever
Reconcile?
reconcile.
Oh yeah, definitely. Tasty will forgive her. That's what she does.
Yeah, Cindy will come in to see Suzanne, and Suzanne will have Tasty go thinking it's somebody else.
Well, you're all real sure about this. Good job.
Suzanne will play matchmaker. She'll think it's cute. The end.
Yeah.
They'll fight, and they'll cry, and then they'll fight some more, and then they'll be fine.
Okay. You've done written the future that I can't see. Good job.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
So, before we transition to looking back, how would you rate Orange is the New Black's Season 7 with stars? 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Don't use the pilot premiere. Now, holy smokes, none of that.
Oh, jeez.
Just 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star.
Just the last season, not the show as a whole?
Just the last season. How'd they do in the end?
3.
2?
I was thinking 3-ish. 3.5 maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I always rate almost everything at like a 3.5 or a 4. Like it takes a lot to get a 5 out of me. 3 feels harsh.
I feel like my 2 is harsh. Maybe I'll do 2.5. I don't know. It's not the...
Don't listen to her.
I mean, we don't have to agree on everything.
No, I'm not giving it a 3. I can't. You know, it's been losing my interest for a very long time, and this season in particular, while it was better than the previous season, it still wasn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be. So I will stay solid with my 2.5.
I guess for me, I know that
She started at a 2, but she's solid at a 2.5.
I'll do that. It's fine. I said like 2-ish.
I was gonna let it slide.
I guess for me, with this show especially, each season is almost like its own little separate world. So,
but this is the transitional segue to the overarching.
no, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I have a 3 on this one, is
Okay.
because if you treat it as its own little entity, it was reasonably balanced in things I liked and things I didn't like.
I would also rate it a 3.
It's almost slightly better in my mind if you think of it as its own thing because of some of those loose ends. Like, oh, you could pick them up, but knowing that this is not only the end, but the end of the whole entire show, it's...
But if I compare it to other viewing options available, I think it's better than a lot of things that are out there.
Don't disagree with that.
She's doing a relativity rating.
Yeah.
Which I guess I'm saving for the whole series.
That's what I'm doing too.
Because you don't need season 7 to get that.
Well, like I said at the end of season 6, if there was more than one more season, I probably wouldn't be on this panel anymore. So, yeah, it's tricky.
Well, that's about as good a segue maybe as any. To look back at all 7 seasons, and I think it's fair to say we all watched all 7 seasons. How could we get to this point without doing so? So this is how looking back works. I have listed the original CPU character question for the very first recording of Orange is the New Black. But now I want you to think about
Sam's studio a million years ago.
I know, right? Those were the days. Okay, anyway, what I need you to do now, and looking back, you get to rate twice how you felt at the beginning of the show, season 1.
Do you have written down what we were?
She's going to read them.
No, I'm going to read them because not everybody on this panel started on our first recording. Amanda didn't.
Okay.
I don't even remember. That was so many years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We've had a lot of changeover. We've had people come in, people come
You
out.
came when we were at Eddie's.
I did.
There's a lot of people at that.
There was a lot.
That was the 2-part recording.
Maximized, yeah.
I was sitting on the floor, there was a dog barking, it was warm.
I mean,
It was fun.
Wow, memories are coming.
great.
Sorry, I have like a photographic memory. It's a problem.
So I'm gonna this one is short, and I'm not gonna. What you're gonna do is how you felt at the beginning according to the original scale, and then how you felt at the end, whole show, using the scale I read for today's episode.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Okay.
picking characters twice. One
One
not
for
a-
how you felt at the beginning when you first started watching Orange is the New Black.
and this is us just trying to remember that.
You can do it, Nick. I have faith. How did you feel at first? Were you addicted like Nikki? Obsessed like Piper? Did you have a screwed up sense of loyalty like Tasty? A genuine sense of loyalty like Poussey? Oh. Watching it to check off some checklist like Big Boo? Watching it because your friends watched it like Black Cindy or Janae or Gina, Norma, Morella, or any of the Latina girls because there were a lot of them back then? Watching it for business reasons, like Red. Watching it as a guilty pleasure, like Bennett or Daya. Aw, he went to get away with murder. Watching it as part of a protest of deplorable prison conditions, like Sister, or So-So, disinterested but wanting to take part in something, so you join this podcast, like Healy,
Yes.
or Gloria. Disinterested but looking to cause trouble like porn stash. I'm not going to add that one.
Boo-hiss.
Disinterested, period, but what the hell, like Rosa, or you're just crazy, like Crazy Eyes. So how did you feel at the beginning, according to that scale?
Was that Nikki who was addicted?
Yep.
This did bring back memories of, like, iPad in hand, in bed. I should have gone to bed 2 hours ago, but I'm just going to watch one more. So I was definitely addicted at the very beginning of watching this show.
I was a big boo. I was watching it check off a checklist. Like, I felt like I needed to watch. Like, alright, here we go. We're going to watch the show. It's going to make me sad.
It was something that everyone who had watched it was basically telling you were a fool for not having watched it.
Yeah,
All of you,
everyone was talking
all of
about it.
you, Krista, watch the show. And I said, okay, and then the chicken episode got me.
Chicken episode in season 1.
I know.
Which is why they come
okay.
back to it with the magic chicken.
Okay, 3.75.
That's the one who said they cut out.
We've moved in.
But it was so sad. It was just so sad, and I struggled with that because I tend to watch fun TV, and it's one of those shows that still causes me anxiety and it stresses me out, and I'm like, so I usually read all of the episodes on AV Club and then I watch it.
Wow, that's dedication.
Well, I like knowing what's going to happen. If it's anything that's going to upset me or make me sad, I want to know what's coming.
That's kind of like Sarah watching the endings of things.
It's the exact same reason. I'm not unless I know I'm going to like it, I don't want a spoiler. I don't want to be, I don't know.
Well, I think I was addicted. I remember watching the show. Like, I remember it launched, and I got a nice little email from Netflix. We have a show you might enjoy. And I thought, this is one I can watch without my husband, because he's not going to watch this show about women in a prison.
That's panelist Jay.
Sorry, darling, who actually he loves women, and like not in a creepy way, but like in a very respectful.
He loves strong.
He really
women.
is. He might be stronger feminist than I am, and so like not even kidding.
Not at all.
He was raised by a very strong woman and sister, so... But I remember I started watching it, and I was like, well, I don't know if he's going to be interested in this. Sometimes he doesn't always like the same things I want to watch, and, like, quote-unquote women's stories aren't always his favorite, which is funny, based on knowing him, which is why they're all laughing. But I started watching it, and then he wandered into the room, and he was hooked as well. So, like, I was making my way binging through, and then he came in. And I remember, like, we just could not stop watching it. And we get like that sometimes on shows. So definitely started out just addicted, hooked from the start. I was like, I don't remember seeing anything. There's not very many shows I would compare to, like, just showing very realistic stories of women's experiences. The only one I can think of off the top of my head right now is Call the Midwife, which I think is, I mean, it's historical, so it's different. It's a completely different setting, and it's like nuns and midwives, so very different action. But it's still very realistic in the female-driven stories, but we don't have a lot of those programs. So I was very much addicted to that because I like something different. I like something fresh and new. And when it started, this show very much felt like that.
I was also addicted. I think I remember specifically talking about how addicted I was. I started watching it after I got a lot of recommendations from friends, like, hey, this show's really good. We can't stop talking about it. And I think I binged the whole first season in like 2 or 3 days. Like, I couldn't stop. It was that good. That's all I need to say. Everyone else has said things that I will emulate, but yeah, addicted like Nikki, hands down.
I was also addicted. It's kind of funny because not too long before I watched Orange, I watched Oz, which is an all-male prison and a lot more violent and stuff. Much more HBO. I watched this show because I watched it for Kate Mulgrew and for Laura Prepon, mainly because Kate Mulgrew is Captain Janeway and Laura Prepon is Donna Pinciotti.
Fun fact, I had never heard of Captain Janeway until we started this podcast.
Same.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what to do with this information.
She defeated the board.
The Trekkies on the panel are having an aneurysm.
I have learned so much from being on panels with Nick and with, you know, brother-in-law Kylie's brother-in-law Kyle. I cannot express my knowledge base, how much it has expanded And I've learned so many things I never thought I would ever learn.
Do you remember how bad I did the PowerPoint the first time for the first Comic-Con? Because I had no idea what I was doing.
We did have to walk through a lot of things. It's okay.
I fixed it.
So, she did.
So there is a mention about me not being a Trekkie in the recording, which, fair.
That was a qualifying statement. However, the Trekkies in the room were having an aneurysm.
I used the wrong little fuzzy guy.
It's okay. I watched it for those two women. Come back to the rails. And so I was rather surprised by just how well done this show was and how poignant it was and how funny it was for being about a prison and all the different characters and the different ways they made it a little microcosm of society, but just on speed because of the way prison is set up. And I couldn't stop watching it either. I don't think it even took me 2 days to binge the first season. I think I was over it in pretty quick order. So I was definitely addicted. Couldn't wait. I think I rewatched the first 2 seasons because I loved it so much.
Wow.
I know. I don't do that very often, but that's what happened.
I didn't start watching it until season 2 came out, and I was unemployed, so I watched the whole thing in 4 days.
Wow. Well, that happened.
I mean...
You have time on your hands.
So now, going back to I'm not going to reread it, but going back to the original character question, how do you, from this today, the first one, it's in your notes, Nick.
The first one.
The first one. How do you feel about Orange is the New Black overall? So this is not season 7, this is overall.
I'm going with So-So and Poussey.
She means using
the
the
ones
season
from
7.
The very
Season
top
7 ones.
character question.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
That wasn't clear.
Yes, it is. She says use the one from season 7.
It's in the talking points. Anyway, I write better than I talk sometimes.
sorry.
It's okay. You're fine.
Well, Krista's you're looking. I'll go. I'm still going to stick with one character
What?
that I know. It's so weird. I'm going to choose the season 7 character answer of Red, where I feel like this is the best ending the show could have had at this point, and it kind of lost it a little bit along the way. Yeah, so I went from addicted like Nikki to this is kind of how it ends, like Red.
My answer stayed pretty much the same as my season 7 answer as well. The watching it because it sheds light on important social issues, like Flocka and Gloria, but also a little bit of the Red, where I think it lost some of its early appeal, but yet I think it still worked out the way it needed to for the most part. There were certain things that we were mad about, as we discussed, but I think we're kind of there.
I might have to mix characters? I don't know.
What?
Welcome to the dark side.
Because I do...
Kristen's going to give you a whole bunch of crap.
We'll see as I
Oh,
talk,
I'm so excited.
as I talk through it. I might just stay with one. It's a really good show overall. I love it. So that's why I would put, like, the Piper Alex category. Like, when there's dips of not really liking it, I think I did keep watching, not just because I loved it, but because of the tasty character description. Because I hope the show would recognize the need for the system to change. And overall, it's a really good show. I still am debating in my head, like, it's going to be a long time before I rewatch it. Because I'm also in the camp of lean towards fun, hope more. There's more hope in the shows I watch, or they are just straight up comedies with some horror mixed in. Because that's far enough away from reality as well. This has horror elements because it is too real, so it might be a long time before I rewatch it. But I did love this show.
I am going to go, now that I'm looking at the correct list, I'm going to go with kind of a mix with Blanca and Maria. With Blanca, it was, the whole show felt too real, but I also felt like I was doing myself a disservice by not watching it, because I also use TV and movies and that kind of thing to kind of escape and just relax and have fun. But I also know that I shouldn't be turning a blind eye to all the horrors that are happening in real life. But and additionally, I continued watching it because I was really hoping that there would be a redemption. That we would see that even though everybody's making bad choices and everyone's screwing up and everything's not always great, that there's good in people, and that's important as well.
I would be, I think, a combination, between Piper and Alex and Tasty, which are the ones that I have. I've been consistently Nikki, I think, most, but Tasty I've been a lot, and Piper and Alex somewhat. I mean, I think overall you're kind of hitting on it. It's a good show. It's a worthwhile show. I think the first 5 seasons are very strong. There are nitpicks you can have with them. I think the riot was a really good point. I think the first 2 seasons were a really good point for the show creatively, because obviously the first 2 seasons were the beginning and it was just kind of setting us up. The riot felt like the climax of Litchfield Minimum. And then they had to retool the story for season 6 and 7, reset it someplace else. It almost felt like starting over. And while I was along for the ride, I didn't necessarily need it. So to that end, I hoped in the Tasty vein that there would be a recognition for the system to change since we were going to the harsher prison. And I don't know that the show effectively conveyed that in the end, other than just exposing us to the issues. I don't know. It's kind of hard because it dances that comedy drama piece, and it's not always balanced. Like the first few seasons were a little more comedic. These last couple were a little more dramatic. It's kind of hard to pinpoint what the show was really after in the end. But I don't feel like I wasted time watching it, which I do feel sometimes after I finish shows. So that's kind of where I land with my thoughts on that. So, good job. Okay, next question. Did you have a favorite season?
Probably 1 or 2. I think the earlier seasons are my favorite by far.
I was leaning towards 1, and the only reason I hesitate is it's hard to pull some of them out. Specifically, they start blending together. Like, I know the storylines of it, but some of my favorite moments or character elements it's hard to pull out. But I think there was definitely a decrease in my interest as I watched. I think season 1 really was my favorite, yeah.
V is season 3?
2.
Season 2 is my favorite.
That seems like so long ago.
Do you have one, Amanda?
Season 1 was Pusey was our baddie.
No.
Right?
No, Pensatucky.
I'm sorry, Pensatucky, that's what I meant, obviously. And then V, and then season 3.
Season 3, wasn't it like the apex of comedy with season 3? That
Yeah,
was our
season
complaint.
3 was that kind of hodgepodgey
Oh, with the
season that didn't
underwear.
really,
Yeah.
didn't really have a villain. Ruby Rose was in it.
Oh, yeah.
Batwoman.
From the DC people. You know.
I don't. It all blends together. It all becomes part of a big story for me. So that every time we go to do one of these, I'm like, wait, what happened in this season versus the last season? So it's lovely that you give us notes for that. So I can't pick the seasons apart. I can't keep it straight. I love people who can do that sort of thing, but it all becomes part of the whole experience for me, and I kind of a big picture, I guess, in that way.
I would say favorites are probably season 2, which is V season, and season 4, which is the apex of the riot. I thought the riot was a different sort of storytelling, and even though it ended in Pusey's death, which I was not happy about, because she's the kind of the sole character, the window that we all had to look into this world and relate in more ways than with other people, it told something very real and very different, even though it was way far away from the book. It's stuff that happens, and it gave a lot more possibility for playing around with the characters we already knew. Did you have a least favorite season? Amanda's answer aside, since they all blend together.
Now that you mention it, though, I did really like season 4. The build up to the riot was crazy, because the riot was just so riotous.
I'll start. My least favorite season was 7.
Yeah, I can't.
It was a mess.
That's probably the same for me as well.
Yeah, 6 or 7. Kind of tied.
I dislike 6 more.
Okay.
6 did have Baddison and Daddy in it.
That's true.
Baddison was it for me.
6. I changed my answer. There was more Baddison and Daddy in season 6, so that is my least favorite season.
Yeah, me too. I'll change my answer too. That's good enough logic for me.
Yep.
Was the series finale a proper send-off for our characters?
I don't think so. Maybe some of them, but overall, I didn't. It wasn't. It's on the lower level of mine for final episodes.
I have very low expectations for finales.
I've seen a couple really good ones that it is so disappointing when they're not. It can be done, and I don't think they did it here.
I would give it a C-.
Yeah?
There are some that, like you said, I think some characters got some kind of something, but for most part, especially the ones we hit on, I do not think, aside from the little end credits thing, cute. That was cute, but that's not a character send-off. That's
No.
just them.
That's a show send-off.
Yeah.
I think, at least, I'm speculating, that they were trying to just show us that prison keeps going.
Yeah.
Which I get. I don't think it's good dramatic television, but...
I just think well, you're right. Yes, I think that's what they were showing, but I do think there should be a beginning, middle, and end to a story.
I don't disagree with you.
And this one felt like not so endy.
I've also seen really good finals that end with these characters are continuing with what they're doing.
Right. Where you care enough to say, okay, yep, we can see that story going on and I'm okay with that. With this one I was like, meh, I don't care about most of these people at this point.
Yeah.
Except Tasty and a couple that you hope for in the end. Do you think the show would hold up with the passage of time? Why or why not? Was it time for it to go?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So you all agree it was time for it to go?
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you have watched more seasons? Should it have ended sooner?
Probably only because I had to.
Aww.
We do lots of things for you. But
Aw.
We love you that much. I would have kept watching because I made a commitment to the panel, but my interest would have been out the window.
Yeah, the only storyline worth continuing to watch would have been the detainment center, and that would have been too depressing to keep watching.
I think it should have ended after
Just turn
season
the TV
5 when they split up the prison.
Yeah, it would have been a decent enough spot to end.
Mm-hmm.
And as open endings go, that one would have felt more impactful and powerful than the one we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go off to different prisons. What happens to them? Who knows? Oh no.
Yeah, if they
It's an
had gotten Piper out there, I think that could have been a fairly decent end of the show.
Yeah. So I think it should have ended sooner. Dang it.
Do we know, like, were they thinking about doing something like that and then it was so popular that they kept coming back? Or have they said anything? I don't pay attention to anything like that on the interwebs.
Netflix when they ordered renewals for the show, in the past 4 seasons, it came in pairs. So they renewed to season 2, to season 3, then it was 4 and 5, 6 and 7. I think the writers ran out of stuff.
Yeah. That's
and
my
they had
guess.
to come up with this whole new thing.
Is they said we want to renew and they're like, well, we want to keep making money, so we'll come up with something, and then it's in a completely different direction.
It feels like it was dragged out a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think season 6 definitely. I don't think we needed season 6.
we didn't
Or 7.
Or 7.
Yeah.
Well, we needed an
Barb and the other one.
Carol.
I mean, you could have taken the last few minutes off of, or the last episode or 2 stuff out of season 7 and pack that in somewhere else. Because most of season 7 leading up to those episodes wasn't really related except for the ICE detention, because that was solely a season 7 storyline.
Right.
Orange is the New Black was created by Genji Cohen, who also created Weeds, famously. Have you watched Weeds?
No.
How do the shows
Yep.
compare? Would you watch Weeds or her future projects? Why or why
I've
not?
seen Weeds, and it compares in that it was really good and then stopped being really good.
I was going to say the same thing. it followed the same arc. It was almost the same amount of seasons. It was like, 5 seasons or 6 seasons? It started off
went
great.
to Mexico, and then
It totally went off the rails and got really crazy. But the first 2 seasons are awesome. I watched them so
They're
quickly.
hilarious.
So great. And then it just tanks. And that's...
It sounds like Netflix has a good idea with only allowing shows to be 3 seasons.
Yeah.
What you can't see is I'm nodding vigorously as they say all of these things. I agree. I remember watching the start of Weeds thinking, this is interesting and new and exciting. And then partway through I was like, and I'm done.
Yeah. It did not get... It just...
Don't want to watch. Like, there have been times where I thought, should I return to that? Because there are sometimes shows where I'll stop watching and I'll go back and I'll at least be okay with finishing, and I have yet to press play.
Yeah, I finished it. I powered through, finished it, and now there's rumors that they're trying to revive it. Continue on with the story.
Bad idea, Jeans.
Yeah, what? Is it just legal for her to do it?
I don't know. I don't know where they are in the process of making this happen, but I know that they were in talks to try to, what are the options to revive it and continue on with their story.
I mean, where did it... Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Would
know
that
how
be
it
like
ended,
with some of
so.
this legalization stuff? Or
Maybe.
maybe it's just like changing climate would make it interesting
I don't know.
to see how she adapts.
I haven't watched it. It's been on my watch list, so I probably will at some point. And it's on the recommended list. Like, people want to talk about it. But I don't know.
Just now, it follows the same trajectory as Orange is the New Black, so you're prepared.
I like the
Well, that makes me think
The
that
opening's
I'm not
cute.
motivated to watch other things she
Little
creates.
houses on the hillside.
No, I'm not.
Little
I-
houses made out of ticky-tacky.
That's the theme
That's
song.
the theme
too.
song.
Oh.
I really
It's-
like the theme song.
Yeah.
Like, I like the opening. It's an interesting.
So that's the one thing that her shows also have in common. They do have a very good opening. Yeah, but her track record is, it's great, then it sucks.
So would you watch anything else she makes?
Maybe,
Depends.
knowing that I'm probably only going to like the first 2 seasons.
Which seems to be the track record.
Yeah.
I think I would just because there's not that much out that I consider like really good. So even if I can get 2 good seasons out of something, that's better than no good seasons. I don't know. Is that like the better
I don't
than
know.
Loved and Lost than?
Yeah.
Fleabag was only 2 seasons, and I'm still mourning that. So
No spoilers. I need to watch it.
I'm not saying
What?
anything.
Which?
Fleabag.
Oh.
I don't know what that is.
Another strong woman created show, female led.
I haven't watched that.
I almost disagree. I think there's a ton to watch right now. So if I knew it was only going to be...
There's too much to watch. I don't think I'm watching anything based on the creator. It has to
No.
also be about something
What's
I want
the
to watch,
subject
something
matter?
engaging.
Creator does motivate me. I know we talk about this, and I still raise this question because some people it is motivational. Like, I will look and I'll say, created by the blah, blah, blah who did this show, and I'll be like, okay, but I don't feel like I would do that with her.
I mean, there are shows that I have watched because of the creator, but it isn't like a sole motivator.
I'll also say another reason I think the subject matter it did interest me. I think it also being based on the book combines with that, so it's not solely coming from the creator in this one, so that also doesn't launch me forward in thinking, whoa, anything she creates is going to be really dynamic and powerful and impactful.
Would you follow any of the individual ensemble actors, main cast, from Orange is the New Black to any TV project, past, present, or future? That's how I found Orange is the New Black. Because I've watched that 70s show and Star Trek Voyager.
It tipped me over with the people, recommending this. I was like, well, even if I'm not going to like it, I know I'm going to enjoy.
And Natasha Lyonne was in the American Pie movies. Just in
And
case.
I watched Russian Doll because of her, which is potentially one of my favorite shows.
Russian Doll?
It's
on my
so
list.
good.
It was interesting.
I loved it.
And I did turn that one on because of her, because I think I was like, she could hold up a show. Like, I could watch her.
That's
and
why I have
she
it
would
on
be
my
interesting.
list, is because of her.
Yeah.
And it's worth your time. You'll need to watch it twice.
Does seem like that kind of show.
And I think there's going to be a season 2, so that's awesome. But
There is.
Yeah.
I would follow,
A couple
some
of
of the
them.
stronger ones. Yeah, Kate, obviously.
Yes.
Laura, probably. I don't know.
Kate better be popping up in a show that's coming up. I know she's not.
I mean, they've already renewed it for season 2.
That's true.
But they're drawing on a very specific storyline, Nick. That's why 7 of 9 is in it. They've kept it under wraps, but the common theme is Borg.
I've seen that.
Oh, is that for Picard?
I was going to say, for the non-Trekkies, they're talking about Picard.
That's why static electricity!
His mom.
I know who 7 of 9 is. I know who the Borg are. I watched enough of Next Gen.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
But that's not part of this podcast.
I mean, Uzo Aduba, she's wonderful. And I've never seen her in anything else, so...
This was kind of her big break. At least she was doing...
She's mainly Broadway.
Yeah.
She has been cast for the 4th season of Fargo, which is an they tell it anthology.
And I have liked what I've seen of Fargo, despite not having ever sat down and watched a whole season.
But season 1 is a lot like the movie, but not. That's the only season I've watched.
Same.
And it has Dr. Watson / Bilbo Baggins in it.
But I kind of like anthology television programs, just because then, if you didn't like one season, well, maybe the next one.
You can skip it.
I'm just notoriously bad at, knowing who people are. Even remembering their character names. I'll be watching a show and Jay will be like, wait, what's that guy's name again? I'm like, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
You'd recognize Piper, though. I'm not going to watch anything she's in.
I don't think I would. Yeah, I'd be
Sorry,
like,
Taylor
ooh.
Schilling. It's nothing.
Yeah, but I
personal.
couldn't have told you what her name was in real life.
But you'd have said, that's Piper. I'm not watching
Yes.
that.
And I'm like, oh, that's Captain Janeway. I'm in.
Yeah, right?
Whatever it is, I'm in. She's amazing.
Live long
Didn't you
and
call
prosper.
her Captain Janeway for the first 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Probably.
Very
Or-
possibly.
Or
And
Mrs.
you always
Columbo.
chose Red as your character in some form because of Captain
I
Janeway.
really enjoyed that character, too. And
Yeah.
It's great.
And I do think, you need a combination of good writing and an actor that's bringing
Something.
Yeah, and I think that's why it could have been easy to not like Nikki, but I think
She never lost that Russian accent.
no.
That was some good Russian accenting.
She spent a lot of time in the holodeck.
That's right. Although Voyager didn't have many of those.
Queen of... Never mind.
It's fine, it's fine.
That's
They had
for the
to
Star
conserve
Trek
energy.
50 Plus series panel, which we are in the progress of.
Okay.
All right. So,
So beyond the Star Treks,
I don't know if I would specifically follow anyone just because they are who they are. I think, if Kate Mulgrew was going to be in something new, I would maybe check it out to see if I'd like it, but I don't really have loyalty to any of these people to be like, yes, I'm going to watch whatever they're in.
But when their faces pop up, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's that person. They're not terrible.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
That, maybe that I would see their faces, a lot of them, and think, oh, this maybe elevates my expectations a little bit.
Yeah, especially if that person has a good track record of choosing their projects very wisely, which there are actors out there who do, and so I'm like, oh, well, if so-and-so's picked this, it must be really good, because their other projects have been really good, but, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm really just focusing on the vets that I knew before this show. I don't think, although Samira Wiley, she is in the Handmaid's Tale. I wouldn't watch that if I ever get to watching that, because that's a big if because of the frightening reality
It's too real
stuff. I wouldn't watch it just because of her. However, she's a nice bonus.
Yeah, that cast is very stacked. There's a lot of really great talent in there that would draw me to it.
I would not follow Jason Biggs, and I've previewed this Outmatched TV show. It looks real dumb. Sorry, not gonna watch it.
I never have high expectations for him.
No.
He has a niche kind of character, and Larry was a
Who
little
has
weird.
sex with pies?
Yeah. But just in general, the characters he plays are all kind of the same.
There's a lack of depth there.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm sure he's wonderful in real life.
I'm sure
I mean,
you're very
maybe he's
nice,
not. He
Jason
could be
Biggs.
horrible.
Tweet at
Who
us, CPU
knows?
Podcast.
Yeah.
We don't know these people for real.
Instagram us at Couch Potatoes Unite.
He is not one of the people that chooses depth of character as a means to decide a project. We'll just say that. And that's fine. He's making his money.
Good for him.
It's very nice.
He could be very nice in person. Who knows? I'll never meet him, so it's
Would you...
of
Now...
all the people in the world, he would be one you would just run into at an airport.
problem. But I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even notice. I'd
You'd
be
be like,
so
oh, is that guy
oblivious.
from that show? Oh, maybe.
No, I'd be so oblivious. I would
Yeah.
not know. Because I have been, places, my husband is from LA, and, I've been out, and he's like, oh, it's that person. And I'm like, what? I don't know. I just don't, they're just people that I'm trying to avoid because they're people-y. I just don't like crowds of people, so I just turn it off. I don't even really, look
Got
at
a
people.
little real talk from Amanda.
He might be here for an American Pie reunion, since it's...
It isn't
But I'm not going to that.
That's not her niche.
He might be in the town because of it.
In East Grand Rapids. That's what it's
He might
based on.
explore the amazing city that is here.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
going to
think
admit
so.
something really sad about myself, but this is the furthest I've driven in town away from my home because I live a mile away from the place that I work, and everything I go to is within a 3-mile radius. So unless he's hitting up the mall
He might.
in my town, which it's not the best mall in the area,
It's not.
I would not expect to see him. It's not. Sorry, it's gone downhill. Talking smack about malls now. Way past my bedtime, Brian.
So late.
Well, I have one more very important question, which was foregone for the penultimate. Would you recommend Orange is the New Black now that you've seen all 7 seasons? Why or why not?
Yes. Yes, I would still recommend it. I think it is very good television, even though I didn't enjoy the last 2 seasons as much. I still think it's worth watching but I won't recommend it to my mother.
No.
Or, I would recommend it to certain people. I wouldn't give it a general, everybody in the whole world needs to watch this, like I would with, The Good Place. I would recommend it to a very specific type of person. But watch The Good Place, because it's really good.
Also, check into CPU's Good Place panel.
Which I'm on.
I think I'm on it, too.
You are now.
I would recommend it. Probably not to anyone, but if somebody wants some good television, I think this would be on the list.
I'd recommend it with a caveat and I'd recommend it with a caveat. It's a strong beginning, you're going to love season 2, pretend it ends after season 5. I'll tell you what happens if you want.
Or you could read about it on the AV Club.
I read all my shows there. Thank you, AV Club, for providing me things to do with my job.
They're one of our favorites.
I would recommend it, I think, to the right people. I think I would be careful. I don't think it's a show for everyone. I think I can think of some people that I know that would watch it and just be very upset for various reasons because it would tap into sensitivities that maybe they didn't want to face, or it handles things that they want to pretend don't exist as issues, and so they would just get really angry about it.
How diplomatic this answer she
And
gives.
so I can think of people in my
The
life.
diplomacy award today.
I'm a teacher, man. We are schooled in how to have these conversations. Or at least I've learned, because I don't want to get fired. So, but, like, I think, and that's part of my job with, I'm an English teacher. I do that with books, too, where I'll say, okay, this is what I like about this, but also, if you have sensitivities to these issues, it might not be a good book for you. And so use your wisdom and choose wisely. And I do that with TV shows, too. Like, here's the things I really like about it. Here's the things that maybe aren't so great, and the things that might, if you are sensitive to these things or you don't like these types of things, this is not a show for you. And I think that's fair. So I guess I try and match my recommendations to my audience.
I would recommend it to select people. I don't think this is a universal recommendation by any stretch. If you'd asked me after season 1, I'd be a little bit more all-encompassing about my recommendations. Really
You
great.
were
It's
very
excellent.
excited.
I was very excited about this show. That's why it was one of the 3 pilot ones on CPU, because everybody was talking about it and it was good back then. But now, not to say that it's not good now, it's just not as good as it was. And I don't think this is the show for everybody. And even taking apart those that might have sensitivities, I think tonally the show is all over the place in some ways. I think character choices in writing kind of take a very curvy path, and if you care about that stuff, you're going to get frustrated. So I think for people that like a well-told, self-contained, beginning, middle, end kind of a story, I'm not going to recommend this one too, because I think they'll get frustrated. They'll also have to deal, they can't be too escapist in their TV places, because this is very real. And if you're self-aware, that's one thing, like Krista's self-aware, but I'm self-aware. I normally go for sci-fi and fantasy before everything else. But you would have to be okay with that, and I would have to know that before I said, watch Orange is the New Black. That's what I would say.
I think I cried at every episode for the entire first season, until the chicken anyway.
I don't think I cried.
I really related with Piper living what it would consider a normal life, and then like, oh, I have to go to prison now. And like, that's terrifying.
Well, don't help smuggle drugs.
I
Make good
Make
choices!
good choices.
I guess it was more to me like not anybody could like smuggle drugs, but people make mistakes, I guess was where I was at.
Fair enough.
That's a really extreme mistake.
I mean, but even like little things, like you can still go to jail for, not...
Yes, but like, you go to jail, you don't go to prison, and there is a difference.
There is a massive difference between jail and prison, yes.
So, like...
I almost had to live next to a jail in my new house, but luckily they decided to build a college there instead.
Oh, instead of a jail.
I have some students who might argue they're similar. Oh well.
Okay.
A little levity.
Maybe I think it's a school or some sort of, I don't know. It's not a jail.
Yeah, honestly, they can look kind of similar.
Anything else? Any last parting thoughts that you haven't already parted about Orange is the New Black Season 7 overall, looking back? This is your final moment.
I think we did it.
Did we do it? Did we
Yeah.
achieve it? Is orange really the new black? Did we make that color transition?
It's my favorite color.
No.
That's weird, Nick.
He is wearing
I
orange.
like
He is wearing orange, which you'll be able to see in the associated pictures accompanying the rich post around this
We
recording.
all look constipated.
I'm not choosing those pictures. And that's right, Kristen looked like a pirate, not constipated. So since we have said all we can possibly say about the show that was Orange is the New Black, it's now time to roll the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me. Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe at our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, all of Orange is the New Black is currently available to stream on Netflix, as that's the network that makes it. It's not like we like to say their name with their non-sponsorship of us. If you have nominations for shows we should cover on our podcast, contact us via social media or our email, couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com. You can volunteer to be a panelist too. In the meantime, until next episode, new episodes published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned!